Hi, my name is Amy. On social media, I am known as Swimming in a Sea of Estrogen. I have that name because in 2005 I started a blog. I was a single mother of 3 young girls and I lived quite a ways away from my extended family. So my blog was a way for me to keep them up to date about what was going on in our lives and how we were doing and what we were doing, and the name just kind of stuck. I've tried or thought of changing it several times, and I just can't bring myself to change it because it was such an important part of my life. So there's that. I started sewing when I was 3 or 4 at the youngest, I believe. And I started sewing by sitting on my mom's lap. She would run the pedal and I would run my fabric through her machine. That was more than 40 years ago. So if you do the math, I'm old. Once I was old enough, I joined 4-H and I competed in 4-H through high school. And then I didn't really sew again until, at least frequently, until about 4 or 5 years ago. You know, I would make the occasional costume for one of my daughters or a blanket here or there or whatever, but I really just didn't get back into it until a few years ago. And the reason I got back into sewing full time was because I discovered the PDF pattern community. And if you're not familiar with that, there's a whole genre of indie designers who create sewing patterns. You can print them off in PDF format, tape them together at home, and it's just a wonderful community. I like making my own clothing because I have an odd body shape, and I can make something quickly in an evening and have a custom shirt to wear the next day if I want. So in addition to me and my 3 daughters, we also have a lovely, wonderful man in our lives now. Todd is my partner, and he has a son, Terrence. So between us, we have Emma, who is 25, Harley, who's 21, Terrence is almost 21, and our youngest, Reagan, is 17. She's just about 18, and she's in her senior year of high school. So we're about to be empty nesters. In addition to our 2-legged kiddos, we have 2 4-legged kiddos in the form of dog monsters, Pip and Liam. Pip is a Chihuahua and Liam is a Jack Russell. If you know anything about dogs, you know there's a lot of barking in our house, unfortunately. So, I kind of touched on this earlier. The type of sewing I like to do, I make a lot of Muggle clothes. I work with a fabric company out of Vancouver, Washington, and I sew fabric and promote for her. But I like making my own clothes. I like making clothes for my children and for Todd and even for our parents from time to time. Mostly I sew with knit fabric, but I'm starting to do a lot more tailored clothing made out of woven. This jacket that you can see behind me on my dress form is the Cold Snap coat from George and Ginger Pattern Group. It's made out of wool, and it is really tailored, but it didn't quite get the fit perfect, so it needs some fixing here and there. I also like to do costume sewing. Similar to a lot of people who got started by attending a Ren fair, I got started making costumes by attending a LARP, or live action role play. I needed a costume for it. Todd asked me once when we very first started dating if I would go with him to a LARP. He told me that if I didn't like it, he would never ask me to go again, but I loved it. I love the fantasy element. I love creating costumes for it. And I love that twice a year we go to the woods and beat the crap out of people with foam swords. I mean, what's not to lose there? So this past year, I made my first historically inspired costumes from the skin out. I made the shift, stays, petticoats, and everything for 2 robe a la Francaise dresses. There are several things that I would like to change about those dresses, but they were a learning experience. So That's it as far as how I got into sewing and the type of sewing I like to do. Now I'd kind of like to talk about the current projects I want to work on. For Muggle clothes, you know, I completely gutted my closet shortly before Christmas. So there isn't a whole lot in there. I need to revamp some of the items, the staple items in my closet. And then I need to add some winter wear because anything I had was too small, so I threw it away. Or let me rephrase that. I didn't throw it away. It was goodwilled or given away or whatever. I also have the occasional request from one of our kids or Todd to make something for them. So for historical costuming, there's a couple projects I'm working on right now. The first one is a reticule that I have the embroidery pattern from Sosteen. Anybody I mention in this video, I'll link down below. But I did the embroidery on my designer Epic. And all of this needs now is the straps. But I haven't quite figured out what I want to do for the straps. I'm thinking I'm going to do a 5-loop braid method and make cording for it. The other project, and that project was completely sewn on my machine. I didn't do any hand sewing except where it was necessary from the turning points. The other project I'm working on was inspired by Kat's Costume Creations. I think that's her name. I'll link her as well. She made a reproduction Victorian reticule for her Secret Santa. And I really loved that project. So I decided I wanted to try making one myself. And I wanted to do it all by hand. If you've seen any of my posts on Instagram or anything like that, you know I absolutely hate hand sewing. But I also know the only way to get better at it is to keep doing it. So I kind of drafted my own pattern, and I made a Victorian reticule as well, following Kat's. And then this is all, I've started making the straps, and this is the silk that I used as the lining. There's the inside. But I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks. So I'm thinking similar to the other reticule, I'm going to make a 5-loop braid for the handles. And once that's done, this reticule will be finished as well. But that one is completely hand sewn, and I'm super proud of it because it's turning out really well. The next project that I'm going to start is to remake my stays. When I made them originally, I made them quickly, and they fit well enough for the purpose that I needed them for, which was for the 2 robe dresses for a couple costuming events. But they don't fit well. I forgot to add trunk length. I'm pretty tall. And so they sit about 2.5 or 3 inches above the waist where they should sit. And they don't fit well. And the bones have started poking out the bottom, and they just need remade. So that's my next project. After that, I've fallen in love with the 18th century, and I would like to explore more styles and items from the 18th century. So on my list for sure is a robe polonaise and an anglaise. I'd also like to make a caraco, not sure I'm saying that right, jacket, and a cloak. And I'd also like to make a calash. I think that's how you say it. The big hooded caps. They're just so ridiculously huge. I think it would be hilarious to make one, and lots of fun. And then also, if you have the book How to Read Women's Clothes, I think it's called, I'll link it down below too. They're coming out with a men's version, and it's coming out in February. I have that book on pre-order, and after I get that book, I want to make an ensemble for Todd as well, so that he has something beautiful to wear to events. So I think that's all about me. This is my introduction to CosTube. I'm not sure how often I will be filming And obviously it won't be just costumes because I do make Muggle clothes, but I thought I would do it in a vlog type format where I could film a little bit about what I'm doing each week or a specific project here and there. And then if I do have some special project I'm working on, you know, maybe film a vlog about that specific project. So anyway, if you have any questions, comment down below. If you feel like it, subscribe, and we'll talk again in the future. Thank you.